just a second, please. Okay, so he was an unbelievable builder. I actually don't think there are more than 5 in the history of architecture like him, or there were. No, I mean this gentleman, you know, he built 300 buildings, and what buildings! So I hope I will be able to you know, do justice to the greatness of this truly great architect. So he was born apparently from Greek or Armenian parents, and then you know, he had a complex youth and complex life. He became a Muslim, although he was apparently, I don't know if it's true, but that's what I read. He was born from Christian parents, and he served 3 or 4 sultans of the highest caliber and built accordingly. He was a contemporary of Michelangelo, and he died before Bernini and Borromini were born. So to place him in time, we could say Michelangelo died 24 years before he died. But this means for, you know, I don't know, 65, 70 years, they were contemporaries. Okay, so he is called in a different ways, either Sinan, just Sinan, or Koka Mimar Sinan Aga, which means Sinan Aga, the grand architect, or in modern Turkish, Mimar Sinan, pronounced Sinan the architect. I pronounced what you see there. So Mimar Sinan, this is the modern naming, which means Sinan the architect, was the chief Ottoman architect and civil engineer for Sultan Suleiman the Magnificent, Selim II, and Murad III. He was responsible for the construction of more than 300 major structures and other more modest projects such as schools and bathrooms and a few other things. So there are no portraits from his time of him, but you'll see a few, you know, approximations. Of course, this is not him, but you know, the drawing behind is intriguing, you know, because it shows, you know, the complexity, the diagrammatic complexity of, you know, of one of the mosques he erected. This is, you know, also supposed to be him, who knows. So now we start with one mosque in Istanbul. He built several and extremely important buildings. I'm not very sure about the pronunciation, but I'll take a risk. I don't know, Shehzade Mosque in Istanbul. What I love about his work is that he was kind of, if I am to compare him with the Renaissance architects, I would say that he was kind of between Brunelleschi and Alberti. That he was an architect, and there is ornamentation in his work, but you also feel the engineer, you also feel the builder, and this is beautiful. He doesn't actually need the ornaments, because his structures are very convincing, even for someone without sufficient knowledge about structure. But you can tell from the integrity of the building that the building was built by someone who was not just a so-called artist, was more than that. And his buildings are you know, standing up quite well. I mean, when you think about these buildings being built, you know, more than four centuries ago, and they are, you know, in very good condition. And then you think of contemporary almost buildings, you know, like even the Falling Water by Frank Lloyd Wright, which needed an incredible effort restore it because structurally was in bad shape. And or the monastery La Tourette by Le Corbusier also needs extensive repairs, not to speak about the School of Architecture in Cincinnati by Peter Eisenman, which 20 years after it was built needed a great intervention, and a very expensive one. But it's also true, they didn't build for sultans, they didn't build in stone. So anyway, so this is one mosque, and there are several. In fact, you see another one in the background. And what buildings, you know, it seems even the Taj Mahal was based on his, in the absence of a better word, concepts. I love this architecture, and I don't know why I never visited Istanbul, to my shame, but I think once the pandemic goes, we should flock to Istanbul, because these are architectonic riches without doubt. Yes. And it doesn't matter what religion you are from. This is beyond frontiers between religions, really. It's about beauty, and beauty doesn't have frontiers. There are some images now from the interior of this Sheikh mosque. I'm not sure about the colors, but it depends on the conditions of light. So this is pure architecture, you know. You have structure, but you also have, you know, the filigrane of decoration, if I can say so. And so there is this meeting between what Boileau called l'esprit de géométrie, the spirit of geometry, and l'esprit de finesse, the spirit of finesse, or fine spirit. Or as Andrea de Plas would say, solid construction or solid structure, and filigrammed structure. That is the graceness or the grace of apparently less solid entity in the substance of the building. It doesn't have to be necessarily decorative per se, but it could be part of the structure, actually, like in the library in Paris by Labrousse, where the structure when the structure comes very close to being ornamental in some parts, and because of it, it is very, very graceful. Here you also have you know, these ornamental interventions in Islamic art are beautiful, and so are in the Ottoman tradition. The writing itself is ornamental, is a beautiful ornament. And it's even more beautiful because it is not figurative, it is abstract. Very nice work. Now, this famous mosque in Istanbul, Süleymaniye Mosque, I mean, look at this. This is pure architecture. This is architecture. It deserves the word of architecture. And doesn't matter where you look at, from either the sky or from the sidewalk, it is convincing. It is clear, it is honest, it is complex. It is a celebration of the miraculous meeting between the multitude, between multiplicity and unity, which I have a beautiful book actually about the Sufi tradition in Persian architecture, and I recommend this book to anyone. It's called The Sense of Unity, the Sufi tradition in Persian architecture, where I read that the goal of the builders was to bring together the multiplicity and unity. And this is what we see here, multiplicity and unity. It's very easy to do unity without multiplicity. It is maybe equally easy to do multiplicity but have no unity. But to have both is not so easy. Very nice work. But they benefited from something that we don't quite have. I mean, there was the so-called shared symbolic order, the one that religion provided. And yes, we have some remnants of religion today, but not at the scale and the power they had. And this shows. Even Philip Johnson, I think he was right, and even Walter Gropius, that the crystalline development of the future architecture would require some kind of. They didn't use the word shared symbolic order, but they meant it. And in the Bauhaus Manifesto, the last word of Walter Gropius was faith. And yeah, we don't have something like this yet, or who knows if we'll have again. Barcelona seems to gather its resources and its collective will towards completing the Sagrada Familia, but is kind of a unique case in a way. Anyway, I mean, this man almost built Istanbul by himself. I mean, all the great buildings, I mean, these great buildings are by him, living in the 16th century, you can tell he was an architect. I mean, how many architects in the world have such a name? Let's say John the architect, or Andrew the architect, or Andrea the architect. I only know of him, actually. Sinan the architect. He was the architect, it's true. Anyway, like there is, for example, here in the university, I don't think he passed yet, he got his diploma, but he's a student of architecture who also is a singer, and he is known as the singer, the architect, the singer. But to have the name and, with the addition, the architect is great. Anyway, great building. Bravo, Sinan. We are with you here. We applaud you from more than 400, in fact, 412 years later, no, 432 years later. He died in 1588. You have rhythm, you have roundness because of the dome, you have the verticality of the minarets, you have everything. And you even have insertions of ornamental insertions that are done with the ceramic tiles, which are the glory of Persian architecture and Islamic architecture. We don't use any longer ceramic tiles, but I think we should. I mean, look at this drawing. I don't know. Of course, this was made, kind of recently. But if there is some truth, I mean, this is the plan of the mosque. The geometric speculations there are very appetizing and inciting, because they show the importance of geometry. And also, I would still say I don't have the necessary knowledge, but I feel this is about the esoteric side of geometry, which I think should be, of concern to us. I remember when once I visited, somebody invited me to a kind of a gathering or a party in Stephen Hall's office. He also lived in Manhattan. So when I went, I looked at some books on his shelves, and I discovered the book by Matila Ghica. And to my shame, I knew nothing about him. And he was actually born in Romania, raised, educated in Romania. And he wrote a book that Le Corbusier knew about the geometry of art and life. And you can find that book now, you can purchase it. Is about the mathematics, is about geometry, but it's also about the metaphysical side of geometry. A very, very nice book. Anyway, maybe we will bring back in education, in our project, some kind of deeper understanding of geometry and with a more respectful attitude towards it, and to somehow relate again with the mystery of numbers, because we kind of desacralize numbers as well in our incessant attempt to desacralize everything. Okay, so some pictures from the interior, from the same mosque. It's a very ample building. I mean, we look at the pictures, but these buildings have been erected, you know, by people like us, and they didn't have the technology we have. So yes, it was an empire. They had power, but you know, technologically, they didn't have what we have. Now, another mosque in a different part of Turkey, Edirne, equally impressive, and it's in very, very good shape. And you see it, just like the cathedral in the Middle Ages, the mosque is the culmination of the city. It's at the center. It is the summum of the city. This I like very much about his buildings, that they are monolithical, they are strong, they are powerful, they are solid, but also you see towards the periphery, he's able to almost disintegrate kind of the centrality of the building in the myriad of domes. So that's why I said it has multiplicity and it has unity. It has both. And the minarets have their meaning and the significant role. Without them, maybe the effect would not have been the same. In the interior, some pictures. So why are the domes so decorated, not just in this art of building, but also all over the world? Because it's the closest the building gets to God, actually, to the sky, to heavens, to it's the culmination, it's the you know, in a way, what the building aspires towards. So it cannot be. I mean, yes, at the Pantheon in Rome, there is a big hole there, at the top, but even that, there actually the dialogue with the divine, with the above, is explicit and literal, because it's open. So the snow and the rain enter the building, and you can see at night, but maybe during the day too, the pigeons crossing that opening, large opening at the top of the Pantheon. There, we also had, no, it's not well said, but apparently the Emperor Adrian had some kind of participation in the authorship of the building. What great emperors! Where are those emperors today? You know, people of culture who have the will and the power, but also the culture and the sensitivity to build, you know, significantly. I think we need such either presidents or kings or emperors, people with culture and sensitivity, not just bureaucrats or you know, lawyers or bankers or economists, but people with intellectual interests. Okay, another mosque in Trikala, a smaller one, a little bit different than, of course, also the scale is different, and maybe it was even refurbished, I think, in the front. This is a drawing of this mosque. Well, the good thing is that they didn't demolish, you know, like you'll see an incredible building by Goldberg, about whom I'm going to talk. They demolished a perfectly good structure he built and one of his best buildings. Who knows what real estate speculator, and I don't know for what reason, you know, to destroy a very good building by a very good architect. To me, this is should be illegal. But you know, money talks, as it is said. So there is no reverence, there is no respect. And when you forget about affection, you know, they destroyed the Larkin building by Frank Lloyd Wright to make room for a parking lot. Is unbelievable. One of the best buildings by Frank Lloyd Wright, flattened by the bulldozer to make a parking lot. This is Homo sapiens. Okay, this is in Crimea, a mosque that he built in many places. He built and built and built. One of the last mosques that I will show, he built it when he was in his 90s. That's what I read, and you'll see it. Now this is a picture of an illustration where possibly MIMAR SINAN on the left is near the tomb of Suleiman the Magnificent, the great Sultan. I think the one on the left, that's SINAN, the bottom, in the bottom left corner. The architect, SINAN the architect. Yes. Okay, so another mosque. I think we saw this one. Yes, sorry. I just wanted to. I discovered this picture later, and I like this picture very much. This so-called detail, but it's a large fragment of the building. I think it is glorious. I mean, if I had a print large, as big as the wall in my room, I would put it on the wall right now. It's truly great. Because this progression, this rhythmic growth towards the center, you know, it's accelerating, it's inciting, it invites you towards some form of ecstasy almost, you know, religious exuberance. Okay, now we see a bridge built in 1577, so 443 years ago, in Bosnia, a great bridge. You see, it is not adorned, it's just structure, but it's sensitively done, and it is at the same time obviously working very well, because it's more than 400 years old and is standing, and it is used, and it's just fine. Nothing wrong with it. A great bridge. And this is beautiful, that he was an architect, but also a civil engineer. So he combined the rigor of the engineer with, you know, sensitivity or the aesthetics or the aesthetical aspirations of the architect. It's great. I really love this bridge. I mean, really, if you build a bridge like this, you'd be called, you know, a genius. Well, it was built 400, I don't know, 44 years ago, 43 years ago. So yeah, as I mentioned, his so-called architectural concepts were incorporated into the design of the Taj Mahal. Here you will see just some kind of a watercolor of the Taj Mahal. I have a presentation on the Taj Mahal. If maybe after talking about Bertrand Goldberg, well, I could show that to you in more detail. Now a mosque in Sofia in Bulgaria, also built by Sinan. This is very nice too, a little bit smaller than the ones in Turkey, in Istanbul, but still his work and very nice. And I like this, the stubbornness of the of positioning the building, in the context of the requirements of the religion. This is how it should be, as it was said in the film by Roma by Fellini. The city should follow the church, and not the church follow the city. So anyway, and this is true architecture. You see, there are no superficialities here. It's just in a way, it's function and structure, and it's honest. You can trust this building. It's not misleading you. It's not. You can tell it is an honest building. It has integrity, and it doesn't need to have embellishments. In the inside, there's something else, because you have to warm up a little bit the atmosphere within the building. And then, of course, you have the rugs on the floor, which is the warmth of this religion, that, the presence of the fabric, of the textile, is important. Now you see a bathhouse, the Turkish bath, hammam, constructed by architect MIMAR SINAN. Here is a redundancy, by architect SINAN, the architect, with the order of Sultan Suleiman the Magnificent for his wife, one of his wives, known in the West as Roxelana or Exalain, located in Istanbul, close to the Hagia Sophia. This also I love. You see, it's pure architecture. Again, this is kind of an Ottoman Brunelleschi, it's great. I think it's great, and it's almost modern because of the sincerity of the building. Inside also is very, reduced to essentials, and the dome of the men's hot room is very nice. Look at this. Can you believe it? I mean, this was built almost 450 years ago. I mean, if you make something like this today, you'll be considered, very highly. I like it. No decorations in this case. It's just a bathroom, but you have the constellation of the stars of light, and that's more than enough. And I think the function of the public bath maybe could be renewed, because there was something positive in public bathrooms, I think. Anyway, we go to another mosque. One of them, now towards the end of the presentation, was destroyed in an earthquake. You see a picture, but this one was not. And then you have these blue ceramic tiles, which are very, very appealing, I think, and you'll see details of some of them very soon. Even the column, no, it has character. It culminates with a capital that is different from the Greek orders or Egyptian. It's a creation. And where you see the passage of time is even better, because you almost descend in time, maybe, 200, 300, 400 years earlier. Then this is another mosque in Kadirga, equally good. This is the plan. most of these plans were drawn at the beginning of the 20th century. And I think this is also nice that there are courtyards. You know, the courtyard is some kind of a transition between the city and the mosque itself. I mean, it is part of the mosque, but it's a, you know, like a forward or the introduction. You know, you are prepared towards entering the mosque per se. And a fountain in the center where you can wash your hands or maybe even your feet, I don't know. And now you'll see some details with these beautiful ceramic tiles. And I truly think the art of covering at least some parts of the building or buildings with ceramic tiles maybe could return in some form. This is what happens, I think, when you have a unity between vita activa and vita contemplativa. Because these people actually, they found joy in creating beauty, and they didn't need much, I think, I imagine. They didn't need possessions, they didn't need, it was not about having, it was about doing and being and creating beauty and lasting beauty. You know, this was built 440 years ago, something like this. And yeah, I'm sure all of this required a lot of work, inspiration, but I think you cannot do this in the modern conditions of life where we are so obsessed with, you know, doing as quickly as possible the grand opening and then rent quickly the building and make a profit. It's of course you don't make a profit with a mosque, but what I'm saying is capitalism really deteriorated a lot, and yeah, we have long lives, kind of, you know. But look, Sinan also lived for 99 years. Well, he was kind of an exception. It's true, the span of life increased in you know, in our time. But I think work itself is deprived of creating beauty, certainly not lasting beauty. You know, we are concerned with the ephemeral, you know, like Andy Warhol used to say. In the future, when he said this, you know, a few tens of years ago, in the future, everyone will be famous for 15 minutes. There is a certain cynicism, but there is also a certain truth in what he said. You know, I mean, the builders of these mosques, they didn't think in these terms. They first they worked for God, but you know, they were interested in the eternal, not in the ephemeral. Although there are depictions of the ephemeral, that's why the buildings are not arrogant and they are not dry. You know, the leaves and flowers and you know, and the writing itself is, I mean, if you look just at this segment, it's like an abstract piece of work. It's very expressive, and it's for someone who doesn't know the language, it's mysterious. It's very nice. Anyway, we live in a different world. You know, nobody would do such work today. In the postmodernism, something was tried, but very unconvincingly. In a way, it was better that we renounced to mimic, you know, certain styles or ornamentations which are not sustained by anything else in our lives today. mean, just imagine how much work was done just for one little piece of ceramic. And you have to coordinate it with the next one and the next one and the next one. So the intricacy of the design, you know, there is a complexity here just in a small detail. Okay, this is, I think, I don't know Turkish, but I think it's a cafe. Equally good, you know, with this courtyard and the domes, and it's although I do not drink coffee now, but I did drink for years until I got sick. I would go gladly to such a cafeteria just to be there in the proximity of good architecture. You know, a cafeteria doesn't have to be, you know, vulgar or commercial. It can be like this, an integral building. I mean, a building with integrity. And then another Pasha complex. So this is a mosque complex designed and built between 1580 and 1587 by Sinan, the architect, who at the time was in his 90s. The mosque itself was constructed in 1578, 1580. Interesting. So this is what a man at 90 can do when he's animated by good health, of course, but also idealism and knowledge and wisdom and the vitality of one who wants to earn his life and not just earn a living. And I think he earned his life. And this is the Pasha's chronogram. And I love this writing. I wish I could I could write like this, but I can't. Anyway, this is a view at night. The building on the left, of course, and you see here you don't need really you know, extravagant chromatics, or the building could be gray, but it's still rich and very, very stimulating. And these courtyards are human because they have the scale of the human beings, and you don't see the cars, which is a good thing. In these courtyards, I'm sure they are not allowed to enter. Okay, so the interior, the rugs on the floor, as the custom is, and it brings in a way the feminine side of. I like this fact that you have the robustness of the buildings, and then you have the gentleness of the fabrics, and I think they work well together. And you don't have chairs, which is excellent. I think in the Gothic times, also the Gothic cathedrals didn't have chairs. Now all the cathedrals are filled with chairs. They are excellent, those chairs, for the tired tourists. But on the other hand, you ask yourself, is it advisable or appropriate to sit on a chair in front of God? Maybe not. Anyway, another mosque. He built just too many. I mean, I'm not going to show you all 300 buildings because I couldn't find them. But in all, I think we saw about 15, 20 buildings by him. This is also is Sultan's complex. And I like this mixture between the sacred and the profane, where you have both the sacred function and the profane functions, either bathroom or a school or I don't know what else. And this is architecture. We look at architecture now. And here you have the drawings generated 100 years ago of this complex. You don't have those tall minarets like in the case of the major mosques, but you still have some, vertical elements that connect in a way with the above. Okay, another mosque. So this mosque is a 16th century Ottoman mosque located in this neighborhood near the Byzantine walls of Istanbul, Byzantine land walls of Istanbul in Turkey. It was commissioned by this Sultan, the daughter of Suleiman the Magnificent, and designed by the chief imperial architect MIMAR Sinan. It's sited on the peak of the sixth hill near the highest point of the city. The mosque is a prominent landmark in Istanbul. Again, very convincing as architecture. This is a picture of this building deteriorated after the earthquake in at the end of the 19th century, 1890 or something. But it was, it was affected, but the important parts, the major parts, as you see, were still standing, Great riches in Istanbul, really, in terms of architecture. I mean, just to have, I don't know how many buildings by Sinan, it's enough to be a great destination for architects, and not just architects, of course. And I think this is the last picture of this presentation, if I'm not mistaken. Now, I will show now his tomb. Here it says the Sinan's octagonal water dispenser on the left. You will see in the picture next to his tomb, behind the iron grill on the right, Fatih district of Istanbul. So that's where Sinan was entombed, buried. And on the left, you see the so-called water dispenser, meaning the fountain. And the presence of the fountain in this religion is very important. And this adds a dimension that is, I think, to be noticed and appreciated. You know, the presence of the fountain and of the water, meaning purification, really. And then you have the tree there. It's like a little courtyard, I imagine. So that's where Sinan found his Domus Eterna. Okay, thank you very much. And now I will talk about Goldberg, a modern American architect, quite good. And he died in 1997, so 23 years ago. Bertrand Goldberg. Now Facebook is invading me. I mean, I receive all kinds of notifications. I'm beginning to be tired of Facebook, which I actually don't use, but they found out about me. Today, a friend wrote me an email, says, Dan, did you have an exhibition at MoMA, meaning a Museum of Modern Art in New York in 1986? And not that I know of, but I did have an exhibition in, I think it was 1986 at PS1 in New York. And now PS1 is part of MoMA, so I think that's why he asked. Anyway, I have now something very, impressive to put on the CV, which I don't have. My CV stops in 1989, if you can imagine. That's when I had a nervous breakdown and I stopped adding anything to my CV. And in fact, once I had in New York an interview, and I actually almost got the job for an important office. It was in Union Square, and the chief designer invited me to show me the other colleagues, future colleagues, to show me where I would work and so on. And when I came back to the conference room where my portfolio was, they informed me after at least half an hour of being introduced to the people in the office. Was a big office with 200 people. And when I returned to the conference room, they told me, well, we are sorry to inform you the boss came in and he looked at the portfolio and he liked your work, but he arrived at the last the cover, the last page of the portfolio, and he discovered the CV where your CV ended in 1989. And this interview took place in, I don't know, 1990, I forgot, I guess, I don't know, 1997, 1996. So he said, what happened? What did he do between 1989 and 1996 or whatever? And they didn't know what to tell him. And they said, well, sorry, something suspicious. Well, it was suspicious because I collapsed once the world changed with the revolutions in the East, and I don't know what happened to me. And then deconstruction came. I stopped writing. So my CV ends in 1989. 1989, maybe I died then, you know, and now I'm kind of reborn. Sorry. Anyway, this is the gentleman. This is the architect, Bertrand Goldberg, quite a good architect. And I lived in Chicago for more than 6 years, and I have seen 2 or 3 buildings by him, and now I regret I didn't see more because I discovered other buildings that I didn't know were built by him in preparing this presentation. So we see a house from 1939. So this was before the war. He was, you know, very young then, for a doctor. Of course, doctors have money. So the houses built for doctors tend to be, you know, not the most minimalist or modest houses. I kind of like this house, you know, it's modern, but also has a kind of reticence or yeah, and you see some tradition there, so to speak, the sloping roof, and has another part. It's a little bit eclectic and hybrid, but I like it. And the inside seems quite comfortable, so I think the doctor was happy with the young architect. And the shadows of the stairs throws on the wall are also interesting. So it's not a bad building. And I even like the fact that, of course, this is not the decision of the architect. You know, the nostalgic piece of furniture. I mean, the chairs and that taller piece. I don't know. It's nice when you have this meeting between modernity and some kind of a relationship with the past. It's not bad. Okay, now these plans were not done by Mr. Goldberg, but they are part of the garden of the house. But I just love this, the voluptuousness, the modest voluptuousness of the plans. And yeah, it works well, the garden with the building. I'm not so sure about that car, but what can you do? There is a piano, of course, and everything is fine. The stair is modern. Another house from 1955 in New Jersey with a mural by an interesting, I couldn't find pictures, unfortunately, of this house, but Feininger, this Lux Feininger was the son of the artist who designed the woodcut for the manifesto by Walter Gropius. Lionel Feininger was the only American who was part of the faculty at the Bauhaus when it started. And he incised in wood, he made the woodcut, the Cathedral of Socialism, if you can believe it, that's how it was called, in 1919. And it was the graphic part that accompanied the text of the Bauhaus Manifesto, which was mystical in nature, really. And this was his son, himself a photographer and an artist. But unfortunately, I couldn't find a picture with his house, nor with his mural. Anyway, now another house, the Levin House in Flossmoor, Illinois, from 1956. Also kind of traditional, but you'll see the public buildings that he did are very different in nature, very audacious. And but I think for, you know, this is a domestic environment, so you are not going to make, you know, something, you know, without some intimacy and warmth. And apparently this house was on sale, not that I want to buy it, but it was on sale for a very low amount of money very recently. Anyway, it's good it was not demolished. This is the model of the house, imperfect as the picture is. Yeah. Okay, so we go now to probably the first, I mean, surely not probably, the first large-scale building built in Chicago 57 years ago, the Astor Tower Hotel. It's not bad. It's the one in the middle, and it's not bad. It's rectangular, but it has force. It has approximately, you could almost approximate this building some kind of, human silhouette, if that top part is kind of the head and the shoulders and, abstracted, of course, it's a prism, but so different from the buildings on the left and on the right. And to my shame, I lived in Chicago, I didn't see it, but I lived in Evanston at the edge of Chicago, but still I should have seen it. Look at the plan. It's fine. It's, a modern plan, a modern building, but it has structural integrity, it has force, and it also has some elegance. It's not a building without grace. It does have a certain sensitivity. So I like it. 1963. I'm not against prism. I mean, in this case, I admire its rectangularity, and maybe also the proportions have something to do with it. I think it's very good. And look at the plans. They're okay. It's a clean plan, so to speak. Okay, so now we go to a convention center, almost pharaonic, you'll see it, from 1965. Also very interesting, the structure, I don't think I found pictures of it after the building was completed to see the, the structural complexity that is seen now during the construction. This is how it looked like after a certain level of completion, and this is how it looked like, when it was done. Quite large, as you can see. And it's archetypal, it's I don't think it's as banal and simple or simplistic as it might appear. Yes, it's very, very clearly defined and configurated, but it's something archetypal about it. If I am to use a more lyrical name for it, I would say the House of the Gathering. This is the House of Encounters. No, it's the paradigmatic House of Encounters. But I couldn't find excellent pictures, and those that were interesting, like this one, the resolution was terrible, so sorry. Now we arrive at some apartment buildings, and now we are approaching his signature architecture, because he was known as this architect who worked with round forms and even round windows, as you can see, but you cannot negate, yes, there is a system, but there is also the curvature. And so there is some organicity and even something approximating some kind of cell gathering in biology or seeds, or if you look at a fragment of the sunflower, there is something somehow relating to biology and nature. It's not just repetition and system, although those there are here too. And there is a certain level of variety, not maybe abundant, but there is. And look at the plan. The plan is kind of interesting too. It has a little bit of playfulness there. It seems the access is from an external corridor, and so you enter directly into the living room, and the living room is facing the corridor. A little bit unusual, but I guess it works. I like this picture the way it opened, but it's not complete. You'll see the picture complete here. This might be maybe not very expensive apartments. I don't know. Maybe they are even social housing. I don't know. But they have a certain air of nobility because of you see, this is what the architect does. He brings something to the building that transcends mere construction. Okay, now we see the Mental Health Center in Elgin, Illinois, 1967. That's not it. This is a tree, but this is the building. He again worked with round forms, as you can see. And SOM, Skidmore, Owings and Merrill, proposes now, I think the building was maybe inactive for a number of years, and Skidmore, Owings and Merrill, a very important architecture firm in the United States, they also built a new World Trade Center through the chief designer, David Childs. They proposed to find a new use for this building. No, I'm sorry, it's not this building. While I was searching for pictures for this building, I found this information and I introduced it here. I am sorry about this abandoned building, apparently a laundry building, which is, I couldn't find, or maybe I could have found anyway. I just have this picture, but it looks like a very interesting building. And I'm glad it was not demolished, and I hope they already found a new function for this building. Okay, back to the building that I was beginning to show. But the way he plays with these arches is kind of interesting and creates some interesting possibilities for the good photographer. Like here, I like this picture. Okay, the St. Joseph Medical Center in Tacoma in Washington from 1969. I think I have somewhere else a better picture of the plan. Here is the section. And this is the trademark. I mean, this is the signature architecture of Bertrand Goldberg, whose birthday is today. Kind of interesting, because this is a hospital, but you have these silos. It's an architecture which is archetypal, and you wouldn't quite know what the function of the building is unless you know or you find out. He has this interesting way to start the building upwards on the first floor. Interesting. I mean, when you see this, this is a Goldberg building, clearly. It has to be. This is also a certain weakness because the critics say, wait a minute, you know, you are a formalist, but he wrote that actually it's not just about form, but he was searching for an expression adequate for a certain kind of public life within the building, and also the expression of that multiplicity that I mentioned vis-a-vis the mosques of SINAN. So you have a center, but you also have at the periphery some kind of individuation. Look at the plan. It's good. It's interesting. It's both centripetal and centrifugal. And I guess it's just a, you know, a speculation from my part, but the people who are the patients in this hospital, because of this roundness and this centrality, and on one hand they have individual rooms, but they also feel they belong to a center. They are kind of connected with the center. So there is the roundness, which maybe would have some slight maybe effect on their therapy, on their becoming better or well. I'm just maybe it's wishful thinking, but I do think architecture could improve a little bit the life of people. Okay, Prentice Women's Hospital from Chicago, it was demolished in 2013. I left Chicago in 2009. I'm not trying to say that if I was there in 2013, I would have saved it. No, but I just don't believe they demolished a good building in 2013. So it actually, its life was, you know, 38 years. It's the building in the center, because by now you know how a Goldberg building looks like. And it was a good hospital, and it was demolished. And to make room for what? I am wondering. I don't know. I think for this building, Jeannie Gang from Studio Gang proposed an extension, an addition above it, but you know, it was demolished 7 years ago. A good building, demolished. There are things I don't understand. It's because we don't have reverence for the past, for what preceded us, you know. We are only concerned with the present. Yes, there are some exceptions. Yes, certain things we preserve. But this was a building by one of the better architects of Chicago. In fact, one of the best architects in Chicago. And, you know, this city should have known better because it's very aware about architecture because of its history. And how come they demolished it? Well, I guess someone with a lot of money who wanted that piece of land to build maybe a hotel or I don't know what, they ruined a good hospital. So what if it was maybe, you know, inadequate for our time? It could have been new still. And it was one of the trademarks of Chicago, really. I just don't believe it. It was demolished. This is the world we live in. We destroy everything because we don't have any faith. We don't have any reverence, any respect for anything. The building was standing just fine. Here is the architect in front of his building. Fortunately, if I can say so, he died before witnessing that his creation was flattened. Very sad. The Stony Brook University Hospital from 1976-1980. A little bit different, but you still see his so-called signature. But here he worked with cubes. It's a virile architecture. It has power. It has strength, maybe a little bit too explicitly so, but they are good buildings and with something you know, utopian about them, and you know, almost visionary. You know, you can tell here there was an architect. This is not the work just of a, you know, just a builder. There was an architect here. Fortunately, this was not flattened. Interesting, these windows at the corner and also on the round corner, you know, facing each other. Interesting. It's like a dialogue between the two parts of the building, facing each other, you know, like having a private talk, a pillow talk in a way, if I can say so. And this picture is interesting, you know, I mean, artistically, as a photograph. I guess he built all four of them, not just the one with the cubes in the center. He built some hospitals. Yeah, he was some kind of a specialist in hospitals. But they are hospitals that also have architectural quality. Okay, now another hospital in Phoenix, Arizona from 1982, you know, kind of in the same way as he built previously. And this, yes, could be seen a certain weakness, I guess, but still there are also variations. They are not, it's a variation on a theme. They are not identical. So you see several plans of his buildings. On the left, you know, women's hospital, the Brigham and the women's hospital, then the Good Samaritan hospital, and then you have the Providence hospital, the PBBH hospital. So you see, when you look at these plans, you see that there is something floral and kind of almost nature inspired or inspiring in his buildings. His buildings, which are hospitals, but there is an idealistic attempt here. You know, if you look at the plans, I mean, who builds such hospitals? You know, not many people. So I think it's an interesting series. Okay, so now we look at his opus, his in a way maybe the most important work by him in Chicago, the great towers for Marina City, or the Marina Towers. Here they are, and they are, you know, almost a symbol of Chicago still. And what you see here in these towers, at the bottom you see the parking, which is integrated functionally and formally into the building, and above, where you see that break from above, there are the apartments, and you'll also see the plants. They are well made. No, again, an honest architecture where the structure is visible, but also there is the sensitiveness that derives from the fact that he works on the round, and the fact that he individuates the units. So again, you can see, just like in the case of Sinan, multiplicity and unity, expressed differently, of course, but the attempt is kind of similar. They are good towers. I only hope no one will ever destroy them. So this is the, you know, it's not a very, I hope yes, I have a better, you know, better drawing of the plan. So the rooms open, you know, like a fan towards the big balconies. It's not bad, and you know, the scale and the height, they are impressive. And they're also very functional, as you can see. You know, the circulation is in the center, a vertical one, and then each apartment opens towards the light and towards the balcony, properly widening more and more towards the outside. I actually designed and built myself, now that I look at it, and that time I didn't know of Mr. Goldberg, but I built, and I can show you, I don't know if now, but I can show you a building I built in Ayud, I think, or in, I think in Ayud, with actually very similar apartments. Also, they were opening on a curve and with an exterior corridor, just like these, towards south. I just had this idea. I have to find the plan and some pictures of that building because it was built. And I remember the constructor telling me, well, you know, why didn't you make it in a spiral to make us totally mad? It was, yeah, if you look at this building, like a quarter or 1/3 of the plan, it was a building in the corner of two streets intersecting, and there were two existing blocks of flats, and there was nothing in between in the corner. So I created a building with an external corridor, and with the apartments opening just like this, like a fan, towards the south. I was lucky, it was the south. And because the external corridor is very discouraged in this country, I was told, well, you know, what happens on that corridor? Well, when I interviewed the inhabitants, they told me they were very happy because on that here is not external, but in what I did, it was an external corridor. They could put, I don't know, rugs, washed rugs to dry or whatever. So the front facade was not, you know, affected by displaying, I don't know what. Yeah, the plan is essentially is very similar in a way. I'll show it to you one day. Anyway, but it was just 5 floors, first floor and then 4 floors with housing. And there was an access underneath to a cinema that was built, you know, behind the blocks of flats. Anyway, I'm becoming nostalgic now. I feel like building something, but there are no clients and the pandemic is complicating matters. I'm joking a little. Of course, I'm just a theoretician who gives talks on Zoom. Okay, so I admire the you know the process, the building. You can tell this is a man with a vision, a clear vision about how the building will be built, and it's impressive even in the process of becoming, because it is honest, it is clear, it is vigorous. And this level of sincerity, I think, is appreciated by everyone, I hope. And there is also formal variety, as you can see here. And this play with the convex forms and concavity, concave and convex, creates a certain formal complexity. Otherwise, the architectural language is not complicated. Okay, now it is a school which I guess was supposed to also receive some housing around it. I only found 2 or 3 pictures, but it's very interesting. And this is the school. Not bad, I think, you know, it's unique. I don't know of another school. It reminds me a little bit of a school built by Jacobsen Arne Jacobsen in Denmark, but that one doesn't have these you know, special roofs. It's just somehow a series of units. I mean, this serial is, but here the architecture is special because of the roofs. Nice, good work, interesting work, and still kind of, you know, so-called visionary. Providence Hospital in Alabama. I like this picture. I don't know other pictures, but this one is very interesting. No, it's almost like I don't know. Anyway, I like it. because it's something almost Baroque here, you know, but a modern Baroque. Otherwise, the buildings are as you expect from him now. And the plan, you know, there was an utopian side to him, which I like. And this is, I don't know if this is the last image, probably no. So these are the towers of the Marina City, or the Marina Towers that you saw before. No, I discovered after, I thought I would end with that picture, but then I discovered on another list with his works, a few other works. So I rushed to put them on the power presentation. So please allow me to show them to you. This is a college he built in 1993 in Chicago. And there are some interesting things here happening. Also the same architect with some aspirations beyond the prosaic aspects of architecture. Even here, you know, those tubes that connect two buildings are courageous and vigorous. And the structure again is interesting. Again, a pyramid, or you know, he used it before. We saw it. This is a different college, but it has something almost of you know, unidentified flying objects a little bit. Wright College has nothing to do with Frank Lloyd Wright, I imagine. Look at the section, you know, it's clearly utopian, really, in spirit, but it was built. I understood he built several buildings here. I don't know which ones besides this one. He also built a library, or maybe it's part, I don't know, but he built several, maybe all of them. The city, the science building, the campus center, the arts and building. I guess he built all these, at least those four. The upper right side. Even inside is interesting, you know, what is happening here. I think it is. Look at those entrances. These are not banal entrances on two corridors. And again, the force of the diagonal at the top. This is the library, and this one too. I think this is the last picture of this presentation. Yes, with the library. Thank you very much. Okay, so if anyone wants to say something, hello, Bruce, you are still with us. I hope you are not going to have troubles in your duties at work because of the Zoom activity here.
Dan, I'm multitasking, but I couldn't be more delighted to hear you your tribute to Bertrand Goldberg. He's amazing. And so many people are not aware of his work.
Yes, it's very sad. You are right, Bruce, yes.
And I'm not prepared to, but and Jeffrey, unfortunately, he's walking in the woods today, so he couldn't join us, his son. He would have loved to get more notice, but we better to just get on with it and do this. And you know, there's always next year, right?
Right. Yes, this is nice about birthdays. Yes, you know, next year we'll do it again.
Yeah, actually, there's 2 dates in the calendar, right? Unless someone
exactly.
fortunate to pass away on their birthday.
Yes, that's what I did with Sinan. Yes, he died today. He was not born. Yes.
You know, the school structure that you showed, Jeffrey and I were just talking about that project last week, and it leaked really badly. And so right now it's in a shed, and it's amazing. There's this huge attic space. It's really it's it's quite beautiful. Um, Let me see. Do you want to make me a presenter? I'll show you what I'm
Sure,
talking
of
about.
course, sure.
Let me just find it. And Jeffrey has an amazing library of not just Bertrand's work, um, but many other projects. Here, if you make me a presenter,
You are
I can.
already, yes.
Let's see. So how do I do this? Share screen. Screen 2. It's just a different time with these. Can you see my screen?
Yes,
With this, amazing optimism and vision of the future.
right.
And these shells were built without formwork, which is the amazing innovation. With shotcrete. And then Jeffrey shared the drawing set with me. I haven't kind of reviewed it yet. And I think, for the architecture students, they don't really want to know. And I fall into this trap as well of sort of hoarding information. Is there's this story that an educator related to me that we're traveling, visiting different architects, and some students are in Renzo Piano's studio, and they got some time with the master. And instead of engaging him in conversation, they wanted to know if they could get their hands on some of his drawings. So anyways, that's a side story. But here it is now. Can you see this image?
Yes, we do.
So it's covered in a roof because it leaked really badly. And I think from I was trying to read up on this project. I think it's the most that school district ever spent on one of their projects. And then it leaked. And I don't know what your feeling is, Dan. Does great architecture always leak?
Right. But I don't know if you know, Bruce, or the others know that one night Mr. Kaufman, the owner of Falling Water, called Frank Lloyd Wright and then told him, Frank, it's raining in the living room. And Frank indolently told him, well, Edgar, you don't have a pot?
This is Jeffrey wrote a paper a couple years ago about the curves of Goldberg and some of his vaulting. And this is amazing. The Marina City,
Right,
this vaulted structure. And I think one of the things that this was his mother-in-law, who was an artist. And Jeffrey's thesis was that Bertrand and his mother-in-law had a lot of collaborations and conversations. And of course, there's a little bit of De Still in here, right? And
right.
Von Tugerloo. You just can't get away from that, right? Let's see, what did I want to mention? This is the school again. I wanted to show this one project, though, that I just find so fascinating. So Jeffrey was comparing and contrasting his grandma and his father. So his maternal grandmother, Bertrand's mother-in-law, and here's Bertrand.
Yes.
Yeah, sorry, I'm not. I'm not very prepared. This is the studio.
No, Bruce, it's beautiful, your intervention, and I'm very, very grateful.
This is his mother-in-law's, some of his mother-in-law's work.
Very nice.
Which is, yeah, it's beautiful. And what I wanted to show, if I can, I would have prepared this. I'm sorry. Let me see if I can show this image, because there's something that I would challenge everybody with Bertrand's work Let me see if I can find it. And it's where, in part of the structure, I think it's in this building here, the glazing mullions are, it's just amazing, the construction, right? I think it's in this building here, are reinforced concrete, very slender reinforced. This theater, by the way, is worth a whole discussion, this hyperbolic theater.
Yeah, this one, unfortunately, I didn't show, and I should have. I'm sorry.
Let me see if I can get to it, because for me, it really, I think it's in this building here, the side building, that the mullions are reinforced, very slender reinforced concrete. And to be able to do that, here's that theater, which is, again, worth a,
Right
entirely
behind
worth a
the tower. Yes.
conversation. This strange building. I think is it that one? It's now the House of Blues. Sorry if I'm making everybody dizzy. Just shout out if I am. I tend
No,
to
no,
do that.
no, you are not.
This is nice, right?
Right. Very nice.
Oh gosh, I can't find it, but it's the it is the mullions are actually reinforced concrete. And it's like, you know, I just don't think we're that bold these days that you know, we use a lot of materials like aluminum facades and stuff, and we divorce them from the structural system to keep them independent because it makes it simpler for us. But it's just such a waste of material, right? You have these materials, you know, these metals, these things that we harvest from the earth. We create all this toxicity in harvesting them, and then we don't utilize them as part of the systems. And I think, you know, sort of the higher powers, you know, the nature, um, uh, you know, we had this discussion about the parsimonious side of nature. I think, you know, it would just be in disgust about how we waste materials. And I think Bertrand was, I would argue that Bertrand's work was very much an exploration of form, curves, materials, and efficiency and program, like master builder.
Yes. A master builder. Yes.
How do I get back to Zoom? But this is a funny story, right?
But what happened? Why does it leak, or why did it leak?
Oh, it's very difficult to insulate and properly detail concrete shells. It's very difficult to do. It's difficult to do in a normal roof.
Yes, it's true. It leaks everywhere, you know.
Yeah, you know, consider freeze thaw, cracking. You know, concrete. It's permeable, right? It's like we don't think of it as permeable, but it is.
Yes, it is. But what
So
about?
thanks for Dan. Thanks for letting me share. Does anyone else want to get into the dialogue? I have to disappear in a few minutes.
Well, I just wanted to say that surprisingly, perhaps, Wolf Prix advocated leaking. In fact, he said architecture must blaze, let it bleed, let it leak. But I guess he was referring metaphorically to leaking and blazing and bleeding. But yes, the roofs leak everywhere. It doesn't matter, you know, really what technology was or is used. In my life, everywhere where I moved and I was on the top floor, it leaked. Anyway, maybe if I was in Switzerland, there it would not have leaked unless the building was designed by Peter Zumthor. Of course, sorry for the maliciousness. What a great chance we had and have again, Bruce, for you to be here and show us interesting things and tell us interesting things. And you are even friends with the son of the master builder. Beautiful. And again, I'm very sorry that so many students have the chance to participate. It's just one click away and it's free and they just ignore it. I'm just revolted. I will write an unhappy statement about this because I cannot comprehend something unique and interesting dialogue and plus the chance to pay homage to a very good architect and they don't care. You know, this indifference kills me really. I don't comprehend it. I don't understand it. Here we are, you know, from 12 people, 10 people are from a different country and or 9 and it's something upside down and wrong here. Anyway, sorry, Bruce, this is not your problem. It's mine. So we celebrated, yes, two very, very important architects, and I think we paid our duty to the art of architecture, and you know, we did it together actually, because it doesn't matter who presented and who was just a so-called participant. We are together in this, and I think this is the role of these Zoom meetings to bring us together. Tomorrow it will be
and Dan, when you talk about Odile Deck tomorrow, I don't think I'll be able to participate, but you might do a search Odile Deck, Peter Rice, and just to see the connection between the two of them.
Sure, I will do it. Yes.
There was this bank structure that they did together, which is quite beautiful, and Peter was looking, you know, was involved with La Villette and the glass structures and the Rotoul and all this sort of structural glass walls and innovating there. And the project with Odile, I remember it now, where and this was before I joined with Peter, so before my time, but all the cables, all the stainless steel, all the high-tech stuff went on the outside. And so I think it was a lot about from the inside looking out and about light. And it's very interesting. I just looked it up as you were talking, like the dialogue that Odile had with Peter was not so much about structure, it was more about light. And you know, it's just this beautiful project. Let me see. And I think my friend Pierre teaches at her school, where she's the dean.
What friend?
Pierre Alexander Cott.
Yes, I do not know this person. It's possible, yeah. Yeah, it would be great if you could find the, you know, if you have the time now to find some material about Odile Deck and Peter Rice. But if not, I'll search myself. I don't know, Bruce, if we could gather the funds to invite you to be a professor at the school with diminishing number of students that we started here. It's what am I going to do with these young people? I don't understand. I don't understand them, why they are not animated by passion. I don't understand. Are you still searching, Bruce?
Yeah, let's see. Can I
You don't
I'll share
have
it. I'll share again.
Yeah.
So, and I think this is for tomorrow, but this is the project I'm talking about, where the skeleton, the structural skeleton, is pushed to the outside.
Right. So this was done by Odile Deck and Peter Rice.
Yeah, with RFR.
Yeah, in Lyon, yes. So this was actually her school, the school that she opened there.
No, this is a bank.
It's a
This
bank.
isn't a,
Okay,
yeah, it's not a school.
this is the school.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Sorry, I don't mean to divert the
No,
the
no,
focus.
it's you're anticipating the presentation tomorrow. It's very adequate.
But again, I'm so grateful to you and surprised and delighted to be able to reflect on Bertrand's work.
Well,
You know, Dan,
I'm almost speechless, Bruce,
it's
because
it's such a luxury to be able to consider these things. Um, and you know, the sort of sculptural artistic side of what we do, you know, we can it just expands our capabilities and our horizons to be aware of what the masters have done, and that we could pick up, if we can understand where they left off, like their continuum and what they did. And you can only do so much in a lifetime, and to understand where they left and what their thoughts were, and their, you know, just with John Johansson, very much so, like, you know, what were their thoughts for the future? How can we honor their legacy and continue their, and use um, their works as an inspiration for us to continue and find our own space.
exactly, Bruce, it's exactly about this, that we are all on the spiral of time, and that those who preceded us, we can learn from them, and we can continue. I'm very, very emotional now, because you said things with a sensitivity that you know.
And Dan, I have to depart now.
Please, please,
I'm sorry.
we'll talk again,
Hope
Bruce.
to hear you soon, and I would love to start that school with you.
Okay, thank you. We'll do it, Bruce. Thank you very much. You are very generous and very inspiring. Thank you. Okay, so now let me see. We have, I know everybody here. Again, I am mad at the students. I am mad because they are unconscious, they are irresponsible, they don't want to develop, they don't want to grow. Here we have a brilliant engineer. If you don't know, I will introduce him to you. Bruce Danziger, he is assistant principal, meaning the second man at the most famous architectural, structural engineering firm in the world, over Arup. He is in the branch in Los Angeles. So this gentleman who runs a big office with engineers found time to enter our presentation, and he was curious until the end, and he even presented himself something spontaneously, while 2,000 corpses, because I cannot call them otherwise, in fact 2,300 corpses who have been announced and invited are indifferent, and this is unacceptable. And I'm mad. I do not understand these people. It's impossible for me. How come an engineer of high caliber who worked for 4 years with Peter Rice, the genius of geniuses in structural engineering, who did the structure at the opera in Sydney, the structure of the pyramid for IMP, the structure of the Grand Arch in Paris, the structure of Lloyd's in London, found time to be here with us and talk so sensitively and emotionally and affectionately, and 2,300 dead people, because I cannot call them otherwise. Sorry for the brutality of the word, but I do not understand. Where are the professors from here? Where are the students? Are they playing games now? Are they watching soap operas? What are they doing? To me, I'm revolted. I, I invited them, and they don't care. And I don't know what to do, really. Maybe you can tell me what could be done to wake them up. How come an engineer from Los Angeles, it was 8 a.m. in Los Angeles. It was not comfortably like 6 p.m. here. Before work, he was interested to participate. I mean, I really feel like writing violently against these people. I really feel. My countrymen, I don't understand them. Anyway, it's an absurd world, really. But on the other hand, looking positively, it is beautiful that an engineer is so sensitive and so considerate to towards the art of building. You know, he's not in a vacation. He works, and he has a big responsible position in that firm, and he still made time. And I keep telling the students what Frampton told me when I invited him to my home, and I told him, I'm sure you cannot come because you are busy. He was running Columbia, and he told me something I will never forget, and I repeated this at other times. Then nobody has time. You make time for what you want to do. And he came with his son, Max, for 2 hours almost underground in the subway because I was living far away in Brooklyn, and he came for Upper West Side. How come that you see the difference between someone who is alive and who is passionate and who is curious and who is open and who is generous? That's why I cannot comprehend these people here. I cannot understand them. I don't understand the young, and I don't understand the older ones, their so-called professors. I don't understand them. You know, they had a chance now to see works by Sinan and the works by Goldberg, and tomorrow by Dildek and Olgiati. I invited an assistant in the university here who loves Olgiati, unlike me. I don't love Olgiati, but I will prepare now tonight about Olgiati because he is apparently an important architect, and I will pay homage to him. But the assistant I invited doesn't give a damn, you know, because he forgets the spiral of time on which we are all going up and then going down. And it's tragic what is happening. Sorry for the drama, but I am revolted. I don't know. I should stop. I should stop sending them emails because I send them for nothing. You know, I mean, here we have Yatsal from India, we have Melis from Indonesia, we have Ina from Stockholm, we have David, I don't know from where, but the next David is from London and he's Portuguese. We have Christina, who is Romanian, and is Bogdan, who is Romanian. Only 2 out of 2,000, no, 3 out of 2,300 people. This is alarming. But, you know, if I criticize, I'm told not to be negative. Anyway, if you want to discuss anything else, I'm here, I'm open, we can discuss, or if not, we can meet tomorrow if you want to pay homage to one woman architect and 2, you know, male architects, if I can call them so. Yeah. But I was very lucky, and we are very lucky that someone like Bruce finds interest in this, and maybe, yes, he's very interested to participate to start an online school, which kind of we started, but I see the students dropping out, you know, after 2 or 3 days, which is the trademark of our great, great, great passion for architecture. Of course, I'm sarcastic. It's what a shame. Anyway, hi, Ina.
Hello.
Hello.
Yeah, I think it was very interesting to hear Bruce, and you are right that it's a shame so there are so little students participating.
Yes, it is. But this is what they see from their professors. You know, their professors are indifferent. They are indifferent too. They are only interested in points and credits and numbers and stupidities, not in learning, not in acquiring knowledge, not in nourishing their hearts. No, that's not important. Anyway, this is maybe a discussion for a local internal discussion. So anyway, but wasn't Sinan a great architect? He was. And Goldberg, in his own way, not working for sultans, also I think he was a good architect. Yeah, maybe not of the stature of Sinan, but I think he was worth saying happy birthday to him too. And so I said tomorrow it will be Odile Deck and Valerio Olgiati and Carlo Aimonino, quite an interesting Italian architect, all born on the same day. So we'll tell him happy birthday against the indifference, the massive indifference, massive indifference of so many. Is, I mean, if I would have advertised outside of the country, probably we would have had more people from some other countries, but not from here. Because, yeah, you cannot bring to life the dead. It's impossible.
Then I'll tell you something to cheer you up.
Yes, please show me that bottle that you had. Okay, show me something to cheer me up. Thank you, Batsal.
I'm preparing a presentation on Ahmedabad, and I think I'll prepare more than 2-3 presentations because we have some interesting new buildings as well. So I was just looking up the photographs for new buildings, experimental buildings here. Excellent. And then we can have one on the World Heritage buildings as well, and 2-3 presentations. So I was working on them, and hopefully soon we'll have them ready. I'll let you know.
Sure, Batsal. We could have you know, a whole India week. Yes.
And one more thing about the presentation today, the things I liked about these mosques were that they had like a central space and a dome, because the mosques here in Ahmedabad, they are like they are a lot influenced by Hindu culture, and they have Hindu carving and all. I'll show them as well. But they have basically one wall, which is the west wall. Like all these Muslims, they pray towards keeping their face towards Mecca. So I don't know in Turkey if Mecca is on west, it'll be the west wall. It's called the mihrab, and they pray looking towards that wall. So here also we had that wall, probably at a niche which is there, and that's what they pray towards. And the interesting thing, one of the photographs you showed, the mosque was a bit skew to the buildings around. Right. You said that the church, the city follows the church and not the other way around, something like that. So an interesting part is, if you look at the plan of the fort in Agra, they have all the palaces aligned. And then if the mosque would have been skew, it would look very ugly. So what they have done there is, outside the building is aligned with the palaces, and inside there is another wall which is skew. So there is a space in between those two walls. It's a very interesting mosque, the Pearl Mosque in Agra. You can Google it.
Thank you. Yes, I will.
Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, so, you know, we did this tonight too. You know, anyone else wants to say something else?